Good evening, and thank you for joining tonight's telephone town hall meeting hosted by the Colorado Department of Transportation, lovingly known as CDOT. For your transportation plan, the statewide transportation planning effort going on now, we are simulcasting tonight's event in Spanish, so I'm going to pause and ask our translator to make a quick announcement. Go ahead.
Saludos. Si desean participar en español, por favor oprimen el asterisco y luego 0.
Gracias. I'm Roger, and I'll be your moderator tonight as we talk about transportation in Chaffee, Delta, Eagle, Garfield, Gunnison, Lake, Mesa, Montrose, Ouray, Pitkin, and Summit counties. Our panel members tonight include Transportation Commissioner Barbara Bowman and CDOT Regional Transportation Directors Jason Smith and Julie Constant. Before we begin, I wanted to take just a moment to tell you about the format for tonight's interactive call. We want to hear from you, so if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, please press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you'll be returned to the call and can listen to our conversation until you are called upon. So press *3 on your keypad to ask a question or make a comment. If you want to view the slides that accompany tonight's call, log into CDOT's YouTube page, which you can find at yourtransportationplan.com. Additionally, CDOT has launched a 2050 statewide plan survey that you can take. That survey is also available on our website, yourtransportationplan.com. Since the panel would like to hear from as many people as possible, we'll ask you to limit yourself to one question, and when it's your turn, I'll call your name and ask you to repeat your question for our live audience. Finally, we will be asking 4 important polling questions during the call, and I'll explain that process to you in a few minutes. Now, before we get to your questions and introduce our panel, I would like to turn it over to CDOT Regional Transportation Directors Jason Smith and Julie Constant for some opening remarks. Why don't we start with Jason Smith, who manages CDOT's operations for Delta, Eagle, Garfield, Gunnison, Lake, Mesa, and half of Montrose, Pitkin, Summit, and 6 other northwestern counties. He's a busy man. Then we'll meet Julie, who manages Chaffee, half of Montrose, Ouray, and 12 other southwestern counties. Jason, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. I've been a Regional Transportation Director since 2022 and with CDOT for the last 25 years, working my way from a design engineer, resident engineer, program engineer, and up to the RTD level. CDOT is an amazing organization, providing much more than just winter operations and plowing snow. We have an entire team of engineering professionals and support specialists, such as planners, right-of-way agents, surveyors, utilities, materials, and environmental experts that help plan, design, and oversee construction of highway projects. I have been involved with multiple long-range planning cycles and have seen the great projects, large and small, that have resulted from the process. I'm excited to be on today's call and to get a chance to respond to questions. Every 4 years, CDOT reviews Colorado's transportation needs and creates a plan to guide future investments. And we need your help. Our transportation dollars are limited, and with our state as large and diverse as Colorado, we want your feedback on CDOT's priorities and how to best distribute our limited resources. CDOT's first priority is to fix our roads. We know potholes don't fix themselves, and the safer, smoother roadways mean fewer accidents, lower repair bills, and better quality of life. Our second priority is advancing transportation safety. Everybody deserves to get home safely, whether by driving, walking, biking, or riding transit. Transportation safety isn't optional. It's essential. Our third priority is sustainable increased transportation choices. This means ensuring people have transportation options to get where they need to go. And the more ways we can move without a car, the cleaner air that we'll all breathe.
All right, let's go to Julie next. Go right ahead.
Good evening. My name is Julie Constant, and I am your CDOT Region 5 Transportation Director. I have had the pleasure of leading a dedicated team in planning, design, construction, operations, and maintenance of Southwest Colorado highways since I took on this role in March of 2021. I began my career with CDOT in 2017, serving as Region 5's Traffic and Safety Program Engineer, where I worked with local agency partners across 15 counties to improve safety and multimodal options for all highway users. I'm excited to answer your questions about transportation in Chaffee, Western Montrose County, and Ouray County. As regional directors, we are committed daily to ensuring our transportation assets are maintained and rehabilitated for safety of the traveling public and the needs of our traveling public. Our mission is to enhance the quality of life, environment of the citizens of Colorado with an integrated transportation system that safely moves people and goods, and the stewardship of the money and tools provided to our team. I'm happy to team up with my cohort, Jason Smith, tonight to help identify and address transportation needs in both Northwest and Southwest Colorado. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Jason.
Thanks, Julie. Transportation affects every person, every industry, and every community in Colorado. It does not have a one-size-fits-all solution, and it is important we work together to ensure that everyone has access to reliable and safe transportation options, regardless of their income, location, or ability. Your participation in this evening's event is helping us develop a transportation plan that benefits everyone, and we want to thank you for taking the time to be here to share your thoughts. So let us know what's working well and what we can do to make improvements. We are looking forward to hearing your questions and comments, so please press *3 to get back in the queue. Roger, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Again, *3 to get in the queue. We have several hundred people on the line, and we've got a couple of folks already queuing up. And so press *3 early so we can be sure to get to your questions. Next, I'm going to turn this over to your Transportation Commissioner, Barbara Bowman, to make some opening remarks and introduce herself. Barbara, go ahead.
Good evening. This is your Transportation Commissioner, Barbara Bowman. I was born and raised in Denver and graduated from the University of Colorado. My work experience includes management and sales in the travel industry, hotel and destination marketing industry segments. I retired from Visit Grand Junction after 27 years and now serve as Interim Executive Director for Visit Durango. So I am very aware of the destinations that bring in tourists to our area. That includes them traveling in by air, train, and more importantly, our highway system. I'm excited tonight to hear your questions and ideas of what potential projects are important for you and projects that can help our communities. Thank you very much, and be sure and press *3.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We are looking forward to tonight's discussion and to answering your questions. This call is all about listening to you and harnessing the wisdom that you bring to the conversation. So, again, *3. Let's ask our first polling question about CDOT's priority to fix our roads. Fixing our roads means prioritizing strategic investments in Colorado's highways to improve infrastructure conditions. It is easy to participate. All you have to do is enter the response on your telephone keypad. Our first question is, what is your biggest concern with the current condition of our roads? Press 1 for potholes and surface damage. Press 2 for lack of maintenance or repaving. Press 3 for poor bridge conditions. And press 4 if none of the above, if you have another priority. Please record your vote now, and I will share the results with you in just a moment. And while you're voting, another reminder to press *3 if you'd like to ask a question or give us some feedback. Now let's turn it over back over to Commissioner Bowman. Barbara, would you tell us a little more about some of the trends, challenges, and opportunities that you see in this area?
Thank you. CDOT, in close coordination with Western Slope cities and counties, strives to continue to develop a regional transportation system that is well connected, serves all modes of travel, and is safe, reliable, and well maintained. Our region is a diverse network of vibrant, connected communities complemented by world-class natural and built environments. Just like every other district across the state, we have challenges. Challenge number 1, weather and timing. Our district contains major roadways like I-70, US 40, US 50, US 550, US 285, and many others that are a challenge to work on in the best weather, but get exponentially more difficult when winter rolls in. The CDOT crews, in conjunction with Colorado State Patrol and the contracted tow companies, do an amazing job of getting crashed or stalled vehicles out of harm's way as quickly and safely as possible, and in areas prone to some of the worst weather the state sees, such as up on Vail Pass, Monarch Pass, or Red Mountain Pass. The roads, as well as the guardrails and fences, get beat up a lot during winter, and there is only a finite window of time during the summer months to get to the repairs as well as to prepare for the next winter season. Our number one priority is the safety needs of the roadways, and this is only for the routine maintenance repairs. This doesn't count the areas where major projects start or continue working. Challenge number 2, terrain. We live in a very diverse portion of the state, more diverse than a lot of other parts in the country. A large part of the district is in terrain that if a road is closed, there are no easy or quick ways to traverse these mountains. We saw this with the mudslides in Glenwood Canyon, with the emergency closure of the Highway 50 bridges over the Blue Mesa Reservoir, and with frequent winter closures of Interstate 70 or Highway 550 due to weather or crashes shutting down the roadways for significant periods of time. Challenge number 3, funding. We would love to be able to have money to take care of every project that needs to get accomplished throughout, not just in our district, but the state overall. Unfortunately, that's just not feasible. Aside from any potential state or federal grants, CDOT gets funding from the state's gas tax. The amount they receive from that has not changed in roughly 30 years, while at the same time costs of material and contracting has gone up exponentially. We work very closely with various transportation planning organizations, or TPRs, which are a group of representatives from areas who come together and create a list of the top however many projects they have for their area. They work out what's most important to them, and CDOT has priorities as well. Those lists are compared, and then we try to start from the top and see how far our funding will go down the list to get projects done. As for opportunities you, the community, have, you are participating in one right now. This is your opportunity to let us know what you, our community members, can bring to our attention that we might not be aware of. And it's our opportunity to hear directly from you on what's important.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So as Barbara mentioned, press star 3 on your phone to connect with the operator. We've got several folks in line, and we're going to be getting to those questions in about 60 seconds. But first, let me share the results of our first polling question. We asked, what is your biggest concern with the current condition of our roads? 33% of you said potholes and surface damage. 30% said maintenance or repaving. 16% said bridge conditions, and 21% said none of the above. So please press star 3 and tell us what your biggest concern is for the current condition of our roads. We'd like to hear from you. Before we take our first question, let's go to our second survey question, and it's about safety. Remember, to participate, just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. CDOT's priority, one of CDOT's priorities, is to advance transportation safety. This means no matter where you're going or how you're getting there, Colorado is committed to providing you a safe and efficient transportation network so you arrive at your destination safely. Here's the question. What is your biggest safety concern? Press 1 for speeding or reckless driving. Press 2 for lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, or safe access to public transportation. Press 3 for dangerous intersections or crosswalks. Press 4 for winter weather driving. And press 5 for wildlife collisions. So 1 for speeding and reckless driving, 2 for lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, or safe access to public transportation, 3 for dangerous intersections or crosswalks, 4 for winter weather driving, and 5 for wildlife collisions. Go ahead and record your vote now. I'll share the results with you in a minute. And we are going to go to our first question from Cody. Cody, go ahead.
Hey, this is Cody Kennedy. I am the mayor of Grand Junction, and just wanted to throw a question in here. By the way, thank you for doing this, Barbara. Really appreciate you. My question is around the prioritization of transportation dollars. I heard in your intro talking about making sure we have all modes of transportation covered. I really just want to encourage you, from my personal perspective, to not prioritize multimodal over motor vehicles. I think our state really, especially the western side of the state, really relies on us having our roads in good conditions. And so I guess my question is, how do we balance that? How do we for western Colorado, how do we consider, with the state leaning so hard into this all modes of transportation or travel and being vibrant, how do we, as the western part of the state, work around so much of a push on multimodal when half of our roads are rated in poor or mediocre condition? Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. This is Jason Smith, the Region 3 Transportation Director, and I'll jump in here, and then Commissioner Bowman can add to it if she'd like. No, great question. How do we balance it out with the limited funds we have for all the modes, right? So our planners and our design teams, as they're looking at projects, we assess, projects and look for, what is the most important, what's the needs, and what we can address with that project in that area. We don't try to force anything in certain areas, and we're always looking for the different funds. Our funding is limited, and that's always the challenge. And a lot of it's, kind of segmented. Some of it qualifies for different funding types. So there's safety funds that have to just go to safety. There's, what we call our asset management funds, and those are dedicated to different things like culvert replacements or repairs and surface treatment projects, and those get dedicated to those, repairs. There's some general funds that we use on occasion for bigger projects, sometimes the ones that we do reconstructs whenever we're in communities especially. And, we look for opportunities there. What can we do while we're in the community? If there's a need for sidewalks, if there's a need for anything else when it comes to connecting to a multimodal facility, anything like that. And it's not always on CDOT. We work with our local agencies the best we can and see if they can fund some of it, what they want to do in partnership with the planning. We try to figure out the best scope of work for a project. We don't want to build anything that's not going to get used, so we want to maximize our dollars and be efficient with them. And then we also look for any grant opportunities too. So sometimes it is multimodal. There's grants out there, and we go chase those dollars the best we can. Commissioner Bowman, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, thanks, Jason. I think you answered it very well. And thank you, Cody, for calling in.
All right, let's hear from Miriam next. Go ahead. You're live.
Hi. Thank you to the CDOT team for your time and dedication to our great state, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to make a statement at this town hall this evening. I live in Garfield County and in Glenwood Springs. State Highway 82 between Interstate 70 and Aspen has experienced a persistent and concerning pattern of serious traffic accidents, including multiple fatalities, injuries, and frequent road closures due to collisions, wildlife interactions, and natural events such as snow, floods, and mudslides. The combination of high traffic volumes, challenging terrain, and increasing residential and commercial development along this corridor, particularly in Garfield County, but not limited to Eagle and Pitkin County, has significantly elevated the risk to public safety. Recent years have seen a high number of head-on collisions, multi-vehicle crashes, wildlife-related incidents, and weather-driven flooding, accidents, and closures. These events clearly demonstrate the urgent need for enhanced safety measures and critical infrastructure upgrades to State Highway 80.
Miriam, I'm going to interrupt you. Can you sum up and ask, what's your question so we can keep moving to more callers?
I'm asking for an implementation of lower speeds in known hazard areas, particularly the wildlife corridors, more wildlife protection fencing. And I did want to actually express my disappointment in CDOT's recent comments regarding or lack of comment regarding major development proposals in Garfield County that rely heavily
Jason,
on Highway 82.
Miriam, thank you very much. Jason, do you want to address like some of the wildlife questions and maybe talk about how speeds are determined?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, so it's a challenge. Definitely, the State Highway 82 corridor, all the way from Glenwood down to Aspen area, is becoming increasingly congested, and it is a huge challenge for us as population grows, tourism grows, and everything. Trying to keep traffic moving on a daily basis in and out of the communities, especially during the commute rush hours, is one of our bigger challenges. So we're always looking for opportunities to maximize operations with our projects and improvements we can make, to improve it. As of the wildlife corridor, we do struggle with some of our projects and how we fund them. Really, there's no dedicated source of funds for these types of projects to do tall fencing, underpasses, overpasses, that kind of improvement. They are great projects when we can figure out how to fund them, but we have to always look for those opportunities to find funds. And we also look for, our biggest priority areas. And State Highway 82 is one of the bigger areas, but not the highest area of concern for the region, northwest corner of the region. But we are looking whenever we do a project, it's a bigger magnitude, a reconstruct kind of project. We try to make those kinds of improvements anytime we can.
All right, let's hear from Rachel next. Rachel, go right ahead.
Thank you. Rachel Richards calling from Aspen. Thank you all for all of your hard work. We realize the budget issues are very constraining. I would second the need for greater speed monitoring and control with the State Patrol on Highway 82. It is something that we really need to keep the traveling public safe. We have comments as opposed to questions. Very quickly, we think money to maintain Interstate 70 corridor should be funded separately from the budget for the state highway bridges within the Intermountain Transportation Planning region. We also would like to see a little more attention to Independence Pass for when there are detours because of Glenwood Canyon closure. They are not putting the traffic lights on the narrow section, which only have one car at a time going through. And we're concerned that if we get a detour going through there, we could have a crash and block your detour route up. Particularly, I would say that given Colorado's anticipated $3 billion budget deficit in the coming years, we need CDOT to help us with the information that we will need to communicate to the budget problems to the state and the population as a whole, documenting the shortfalls as realistically as we can. We understand you work as efficiently as you can with the money and the limited resources you have, but we're going to see ever-increasing demands, and we cannot go through these sort of shortfalls. We very strongly support the multimodal dollars. That's very important, and are disappointed that the revitalizing Main Street programs were defunded by the state. We do understand the state problems, but between maintaining Highway 82, we really need a lot. Thank you.
So, no, we appreciate the comments, Rachel. And on the speed enforcement, it's another challenge that we have. We work in conjunction with CSP. As of the posted speed limits, there's a process. We work with our local communities. We can do a speed study. But we also have to look at, if there's a need to increase the speed limit when we do the studies, because the drivers are driving a little faster. Sometimes that can go the other way. So instead of decreasing automatically, if drivers are comfortable at driving a faster speed along a corridor, the speed study can allow the speed to increase. So we have to be very cautious and careful about, whenever we do speed studies. But those are requested by the local communities, and we're willing to look at them whenever those requests come into the department. You're right on the challenges with the funding. We try to work with the Intermountain TPR, try to identify and prioritize which projects are the most important. We don't make it down the list very far, unfortunately, with the huge list of needs they have and priorities with that TPR, because they do have I-70, they do have State Highway 82, and all those projects kind of compete with one another. As of the repairs and separating out the funds, once we divide them up too much, we don't get anything built. Is the unfortunate part about it. We need to kind of keep the funding together and as whole as much as possible, so we can deliver some more substantial projects that can make a more impact and a better improvement. Thank you, Rachel.
All right, thank you. We'll get back to some more questions here in just a couple of minutes. For those of you that joined the call late, good evening. I'm Roger, your moderator tonight, as we talk about your transportation plan, Colorado's statewide transportation planning effort. We're talking with Transportation Commissioner Barbara Bowman and the CDOT Regional Transportation Directors for Western Colorado. You can participate by pressing star 3 on your keypad. You'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some very basic information and get you in the queue. We've had some great questions so far. So that's star 3 to get in the queue for a question. Before I turn it over to Director Smith and Constan, here are the results of our second polling question. We asked, what is your biggest safety concern? 37% of you said speeding or reckless driving. 26% said winter weather driving. 17 said dangerous intersections or crosswalks. 11% said a lack of sidewalk, bike lane, and safe access to public transportation. And 9% of you said wildlife crossings. We'll have a couple more questions in a minute, but let's go back to Director Jason Smith. Would you tell us briefly a little more about recent accomplishments for the area?
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Commissioner Bowman hit the nail on the head whenever she mentioned challenges we face. We work in a public service that depends greatly on weather, time, and funding, and we do the best to operate within those parameters and still succeed. I'd like to hit on some of the successes in my region, and then I'll pass it over to Julie to do the same for hers. Many of our successes are a direct result of the quality relationships we have with our local communities here in CDOT's Region 3, the northwest corner of the state. We enjoy working with our local communities to figure out the best ways to improve safety and operations within their counties, cities, and towns. We're working on the final stage to get the US 50 Blue Mesa Bridges project complete. This is a major undertaking for an emergency repair that took the entirety of the team a year to get it completed. We work closely with Gunnison and Montrose counties with full support of our elected leaders and with our contractor to form a plan that, while still an inconvenience to commuters due to the geography, was the best and safest interim solution. We are now in the final phase of this project and looking to be 100% complete by the end of July. While we're dealing with the emergency on Highway 50 bridges, we also had been working on another large project just west of the reservoir on US 50 in Little Blue Canyon, about halfway between Gunnison and Montrose, where we did a lot of safety improvements, building wider shoulders, realigning the highway, stabilizing slopes prone to rock slides, replacing guardrail, and just overall improving the safety of that portion of the roadway. We also wrapped up a new roundabout project in Newcastle, just off of I-70, about 2 weeks ago, that transformed what was a congested intersection where traffic movement had issues to a safer configuration that allows traffic to flow freely. And final, on the I-70 corridor on the west side of El Paso, we continue to work on building the auxiliary lane, where we're modifying the alignment of the roadway and adding wildlife crossings to make it a safer stretch of highway. When this project is complete, it will be a better driving experience for commuters as well as safer for wildlife to travel next and underneath the road. Again, while we have challenges, the professionals we have are adept to working through them and coming out successful on the other end of our projects, all while keeping safety at the forefront. I know my counterpart in Durango has a lot of exciting and much needed work going on in her region as well. Julie?
Jason summed up the challenges pretty well. Weather and time, terrain, and funding. We have very similar challenges in southwest and south central Colorado, where roads are affected by significant winter conditions, requiring us to spend tremendous amounts of time on snow and ice removal every year to keep our roads open. Each set of conditions creates their own difficulties for our equipment and our personnel. One of the projects I'd like to highlight that we completed last summer was the realignment of the intersection of US 285 and 50 on the northwestern edge of Poncha Springs. This realignment was done to better accommodate our increased traffic volume that uses this intersection. Chaffee County is the crossroads of Colorado and is a major corridor for people traveling from the southwest corner of the state and the San Luis Valley to urban cities on the Front Range. This project included turning the intersection into a four-way intersection, some restriping, and a new traffic signal. It also resurfaced 7 miles of US 50 from that intersection towards Maysville. Also, in southwestern and south central Colorado, we will be transitioning several of our roadway cameras to CDOT-owned cameras instead of the contracts that we have right now. This transition means we're going to have a little bit of timing gap between when the contract runs out with the current cameras and the new ones will be replaced. So we have about 22 cameras in Region 5 itself and more around the state that will lose service this summer, while we wait for about 15 new cameras to replace the ones in Region 5. So if you're used to looking at those cameras on CoTrip, you might see some lack of service there for a bit this year. And that's all I have right now. I'll hand it back to you, Roger.
Thank you very much. Let's get to our third polling question. Remember to participate, just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Another of CDOT's main goals is to sustainably increase transportation choice, which means providing alternatives to single occupancy vehicle travel. Those choices that increase choices and reduce air pollution from transportation. So here's our question. What transportation options would you like to see more of? Press 1 for public transit, things like bus, Bustang, trains, etc. Press 2 for walking or biking infrastructure. Press 3 for ride-sharing or micro-transit, such as on-demand shuttles. Press 4 for safer or more accessible streets for people with disabilities, and press 5 if none of the above, you just prefer driving. So 1 for public transit, 2 for walking or biking, 3 for rideshare or microtransit, 4 for safer and more accessible streets for people with disabilities, and 5 for none of the above. Record your vote now. I'll share the results with you in just a few minutes, and let's go back to the questions, and we're going to hear from Kayla next. Go ahead.
Hi, that's perfect. My name is Kayla, and I'm from Orchard Mesa in Mesa County, over on the western slope. And my question is, can we please get some better public transportation over here? With our public transportation, our buses, we struggle, and it is kind of hard. I do appreciate the bus system we do have. It is better than nothing. But I have had to go over to Denver for my health. Long COVID has just wrecked me the past 3 years. I've had to lose my dream job as a nurse, unfortunately, but having to go over to Denver and take the bus system to get on time across a greater distance to a doctor's appointment successfully with the public transportation in Denver, and then come back to the western slope to Grand Junction, and our bus system here we're doing the best we can with what we got, and I'm so grateful for it, but it struggles, and a lot of times I'm late to my appointment, or I have to leave earlier just so I know I'm going to be on time. And if we could get a few more buses, maybe that would be helpful. So just some along those lines. I appreciate everything. Thank you for what you're doing. Just knowing I have safe travel across the roads and across the mountain in the winter to get to my appointments. I appreciate all your help. Thanks, my friends.
Thanks, Kaylee. We appreciate the question. We know it's challenging to make some of these connections, and trying to get enough buses in systems, to make it accommodate everybody and their needs is definitely one of our bigger challenges, and the timing. On the local level, we work with Grand Valley Transit, here in the Valley, trying to figure out their funding, how they can add more routes and connect to our Bustang routes that head over to Denver and I-70. And we're looking at increasing and making improvements to our routes as well for Bustang. We look at, adding more buses, making them more frequent for users and accommodate them. And then, we also look, what we can do in these local communities and maybe do an outrider services to make these connections a little better for some of our other counties and communities. So, thanks.
Okay, this may be a good time to mention that if you don't want to speak to an operator or you need to leave the call early, we do have about 25 minutes left. We're going to get to a lot more questions, but if you need to leave the call early, you can leave us a message by pressing *9. So again, *3 to ask a question live, or *9 to leave the call and leave us a voice message. You may also provide CDOT with feedback via the online interactive survey at yourtransportationplan.com, and you can send us comments on the website again at yourtransportationplan.com. Let's hear next from Michael. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
So
Go ahead.
I'm Mike. Good. Thank you. I'm Michael, and I no longer am able to drive because of a neurological condition. I live in Garfield County on the I-70 West corridor and on the Mustang West line. I've used it infrequently and really like the quality of the service in every way. People like me benefit from limited paratransit hours locally, as well as the RAFTA bus system going up Roaring Fork Valley. My concern is including traveling in town from my home to the one single Mustang stop round trip is very challenging for me and others. And now I'll get to my question. When might CDOT be able to fund either expanded Mustang West line service so that a traveler like me could reasonably go same day round trip to our one regional city, Grand Junction, where, for instance, I get a lot of my medical care. I cannot afford overnight accommodations in a motel or hotel in order to use Mustang. And if before that becomes fiscally feasible, can CDOT maybe work with RAFTA or maybe within Mustang to just schedule periodic travel rather
Jason,
than regular schedule?
Thank you, Michael. This is Commissioner Bowman. I just wanted to mention I ride Mustang quite a bit too. The same route actually from Grand Junction to Denver and also now into Durango where I live. But in the past year, Mustang, we really have doubled our routes along I-70 and expand to other locations. And I just want you to know that we are currently doing a transit connection study that will be wrapped up. It will be wrapped up in the fall, and that will let us know where the needs are. So thank you for that, and just know that we are studying it and taking a look at it as well. And we do work well with RAFTA. So we appreciate your comments, and we will certainly take them to heart. So thank you again for your use of Mustang.
All right, we've got about 13 minutes left, so ask everyone to please be concise as you ask your question. Lauren is next. Go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I'm a voter from Grand Junction, and I'm really pleased with all the efforts for multimodal transportation, despite what our mayor might say. I've lived in the Valley for off and on since '87, and it's long been dangerous for pedestrians and cyclists. And so any effort to make cycling and walking a little safer in our community would be great. I know it's a big deal for kids and teenagers trying to get around, as well as it's something to note for buses. For school buses, they will not pick up children within 3 miles of their school, so making sure they have an alternative bus route is really helpful too. And that plays into the multimodal transportation. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate the question. No, you bring up a great comment. The public are always encouraged to join any engagements that we have. We usually put them out in the paper, give notice when we're doing a design of a project or we're doing any type of studies where we want to look and see, where users are at and who can benefit. The project hotline, we set them up. You can always call in, give information during construction, and then you can engage with our regional transportation office members as well. Commissioner Bowman or myself are always willing to listen to where we can make improvements. So again, thank you, Lauren. Appreciate the question.
All right. Here are the results of our third survey question. We asked what transportation options would you like to see more of? 37% said public transit. We've heard a couple questions on that recently here. 27% said I prefer to drive. and 14% said walking or biking, and 14% said rideshare or microtransit. And safer or more accessible streets for people with disabilities came in with 8%. Thank you for participating. We'll have one more question in just a couple of minutes, but we're going to go next to Jacob. Go ahead.
Hi, Jacob Rivera. I'm representing the town of Gypsum on the west end of Eagle County. It kind of has to do similar with the first poll question that you brought up, just with pavement condition, and along the same lines as the mayor of Grand Junction. I know the state recently ranked last or near last in the nation in pavement condition. And at least in our area in Eagle County, we don't appear to be headed in the right direction. My question has to do with what are we doing about that? And my quick local example is that, you know, the I-70 through Gypsum was done on about a 10-year pavement cycle all the way through Eagle County. We're looking at kind of starting that over here with a project that'll be 16 years of pavement life. And the next section looks to be even longer out. And it just doesn't appear like we're headed in a positive direction in terms of addressing pavement condition. And just looking at the funding in CDOT's 10-year plan, it appears to be pretty stagnant. I'm not even sure it would cover inflation. So just curious what the state's planning to do about addressing pavement condition.
Thanks, Jacob. This is Jason Smith. I'll take that question. You know, it is a huge challenge. You know, as we go back, our funds have not increased. This gas tax is remaining at 22 cents per gallon. So our revenues, are relatively stagnant. And so we're trying to do the best we can. And as you spoke of inflation and costs, we're always looking for opportunities of what we can do to maximize our dollars. What can we do with the rehab projects, resurfacing, to get the most, right? Use technology to our benefit. Is there anything we can do? We're always exploring new project techniques, what we can do on the roads. And sometimes we're having to minimize, the projects in some senses, like not doing the shoulders. We're doing more drive lane rehabs, resurfacing projects, and not doing a lot of the shoulders and leaving them for longer. So we're having to look at everything we can to save the dollars and stretch them out to get that on the surface itself. So thanks again, Jacob. Appreciate the question.
Okay, Marion is next. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Marion. I'm living in Delta, Colorado. I've been in Colorado for 25 years. And I wanted to ask you to speak some more to the issue that you just brought up again about funding, where the gas tax has stayed at the same percentage, but you are saying that you've got the same funds over the years despite inflation. But how do you factor in the increased amount of drivers would be using more gasoline, would be spending more money? So, percentage-wise, you're getting 22 cents of more gallons. So how is that not increasing to meet your needs?
No, that's a great question, Miriam. I appreciate you asking it. One of the things that doesn't quite make sense to add up, right? It's so we've been collecting. There's more drivers on the road, but cars are getting more efficient. That's what we're seeing, which is great. They're getting more miles per gallon. That doesn't help us with our revenues. We get a price per gallon. So, we actually benefit as a state whenever, we sell more gallons of gasoline. That helps our profits. So gas that, or cars that are more efficient, they don't really help us in that sense. Plus, with the electric vehicles coming online, we still don't have that fully figured out how to collect fees from them. There is a set percent or a set rate that comes from EVs, but they're also exploring of what is the right amount to collect from an electric vehicle, because they're not paying for any gas taxes. So that is some of the challenges with the way this was set 30 years ago at the time, and it doesn't adjust with inflation or with any index. So we're kind of stagnant. And again, as prices, or gas stays stagnant on the gasoline sales, we don't anticipate we're going to see a big increase in the near future. So thanks, Marion.
All right, let's ask our final polling question. Just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And here is that question. Of CDOT's three main priority areas discussed tonight, what do you think CDOT's top priorities should be? Press 1 for fixing our roads. Press 2 for advancing transportation safety. press 3 for sustainably increasing transportation choice. So 1 for fixing our roads, 2 for advancing transportation safety, and 3 for sustainably increasing transportation choice. Go ahead and vote. We'll share the results with you at the end of the call. We're going to go now to a question that was submitted online by Constance. And she asked, she says, can't more be done about rocks falling on the roads? I know that is a challenge here sometimes.
Yeah, I'll jump in here and take that one, Roger. Thanks. It is a challenge. We're constantly assessing the roads where we have, our typical spots that we see rocks coming down onto the road. So we have to set them up in the plan. If it's not an emergency type of project, a major closure, we have to plan the dollars and we have to go in and design it. We have to find the funds. And so it does take some time. We do have a certain amount of funding that's dedicated to rockfall hazards and prevention, and we're designing those projects. Unfortunately, living in Colorado, with the rocks that we have and the roadways, we have a number of these areas that we are constantly battling, and the funds just don't stretch far enough. Some of the roads that we've worked on, continuously in my region, the State Highway 133, all the way, from Carbondale to Paonia area, the rockfall over McClure Pass has been a huge challenge for us, and we don't put nearly enough money into that to fix the problem, so we're chasing it. So thanks for the question.
All right, thank you. Good question there. Let's hear next from Whitney. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Whitney from Lake County. As I-70 continues to experience frequent congestion, closure, and capacity challenges, especially during peak travel, accidents, and weather conditions, are there any meaningful long-term plans to upgrade Highway 50 as a true statewide corridor to help alleviate the pressure on I-70 and support the economic resilience of western and southern Colorado?
Thanks, Whitney. Appreciate the question. We've been working on that corridor for many years now. As I was saying earlier, we've completed the last project, on US 50, Little Blue Creek Canyon, which made major improvements to the road. Didn't necessarily add lanes, but in areas lanes the entire way, and to make it like a 4-lane facility. What we have done is tried to be strategic with where we can put passing lanes or make improvements to safety by increasing sight distance, so drivers feel more comfortable in those areas. But we have put a passing lane up by Blue Mesa Reservoir recently that has been great, and that helps along these corridors to let travelers then travel a little bit more freely. Thank you again for the question.
This is Julie Constant, Region 5. We also have portions of Highway 50. We've been doing a lot of strategic work also with Region 2, further to our east counterparts, to put in some additional passing lanes, especially through those canyon portions as you go from Salida area over towards Canyon City, again, trying to do similar things that you were doing through Little Blue Canyon.
Thank you, Julie. Let's go to Bob next. Bob, you're live. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Bob from Summit County. I'm just kind of questioning what we're doing to improve the traffic flow and safety on the I-70 on and off ramps, especially the 205 and 207. They have a lot of excessive traffic, and the traffic flow just isn't good.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Appreciate the question. So, but Frisco area, exit 203 right now, we're just finishing a design of a project. It's a pretty major project. It will address the needs at the ramps and coming over and into the Frisco area itself and rebuilding the roadway, making some better connections and really improving the operations along the corridor up there. So that is a great improvement that we're going to be seeing over the next few years. And then we also have been making some other improvements down around Glenwood Springs area. We'll finish that roundabout down in Newcastle. So we are strategically looking for operational improvements, especially at our ramp locations on I-70 where we see these major backups. So thanks, Bob.
All right, let's go to another online question. This one came in from Scott. Scott asked, why does Colorado need a 2050 statewide transportation plan?
Thanks, Scott. No, that's a good question. Really, anything that's worth doing, you got to plan it out, and this is not easy. And trying to forecast and see where growth is going to happen, over the next 20 years is a challenge. We work with all these different communities; they're all growing a little different. They all have different needs and wants. So our plan, we're reaching out and getting this input, is really to kind of look of what the community thinks is going to happen over the next 20 years and what those priorities are going to be. Some of those issues are there today that need addressed, and some of them you're trying to figure out where the major developments are going to be, or major things that might impact traffic are going to happen in the future. So we got to look at a long-term 20-year plan, and it's pretty vague. We look at it pretty high level. It's kind of that 30,000-foot level. And then we start dividing that into more of a 10-year plan and breaking it down into projects, and then even down into a 4-year plan. And that's where we really start trying to fiscally constrain our dollars and figure out which projects are going to get funded through design and construction. So that 20-year plan really gives us that future foresight to kind of which projects are out there that are needed, and we constantly evaluate which ones we need to bring online sooner than later.
Thank you. Here are the results of our final polling question. We asked of CDOT's 3 main priority areas discussed tonight. What do you think CDOT's top priorities should be? 51% said fixing our roads. 33% said sustainably increasing transportation choice, and 16% said advancing transportation safety. We appreciate your input and are going next to Doug. Go ahead, Doug.
Yes. This is Doug Fastbinder. My family came here in 1875. We've been here a long time, and I would like to ask if we could put some turn lanes or some additional lanes for the Highway 65, so to alleviate some of the traffic. We're servicing the surface right now, and it seems like a waste of money without putting in extra turn lanes or extra lanes to help traffic. We back up now almost a mile and a half just in 20 seconds or 20 minutes time just to get traffic through there. The program we got now is to resurface it, but we need extra lanes rather than resurfacing.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the question. And right now our current job is just an overlay to give us that smoother roadway. There wasn't really any funds identified to do any widening or making any improvements to turn lanes, anything like that. And, we have a traffic team that looks at the counts, trying to figure out and justify, where those lanes are needed. Usually without a development, we don't put in extra turn lanes, things like that. Most of those are triggered by whenever something happens. There's a change. There's new businesses come in, new subdivisions, things like that trigger a growth in that area, and we expand. Right now, we don't have the funds identified or to look at these intersections that you're talking about, but we will constantly keep monitoring them and looking for ways we can make improvements in that area on 65.
Okay, let's hear from Craig next. Go ahead, Craig.
Yes, this is Craig Dubin from Roaring Fork Transportation Authority, and just wanted to say, as the largest rural transit system in the U.S. and second largest transit system in the state, we provide over 5 million rides per year and drive about 4.5 million revenue miles a year. So given the recent uncertainty with federal funding, we're really hopeful that CDOT will be able to maintain the current funds of multimodal funding, if not increase. So it's more of a request to try to keep focused on multimodal transportation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. There's big concerns on how to keep what we have going, right, and sustain it. The RAFTA in Roaring Fork Valley, they're a model for what's going on nationwide in many ways with their transportation system and their connections for the valley. And CDOT, with our partners in the valley, want to look and see what we can do to keep that sustained and keep it going and functioning as it is, and even expand where we can. So we're constantly looking for those opportunities, whether it's grants, what kind of funding we can to help out and team up and make good projects in that area and keep everything going.
This is Commissioner Bowman, too. I want to say that you guys are fantastic. And congratulations on everything you do in that area. It's a fantastic system, and we really are trying to look at the funding, definitely. So thank you, Jason.
All right, we have a quick question we'll go to from online that was submitted from Stephen. He asks, why can't CDOT work on construction projects at night? It seems like night projects would go much faster.
This is Commissioner Bowman, and I think that's a really good question, and it really is. But there is a balance between safety of the construction workers and their exposure at night versus the impact of a higher volume of traffic during the day. CDOT, we try to routinely update lane closure strategy that lists acceptable hours of operation based on the average daily volumes. As an example, almost 100% of the work completed on I-25 requiring a lane closure is completed between 9 and 5 p.m. So thank you for that question, and we appreciate it.
All right, we have come to the end of our call, and we have some wrap-up comments. We're going to start with Commissioner Bowman. If we have about 45 seconds each, so go ahead, Commissioner.
So, as transportation commissioners, roadways are truly our bread and butter. But we want to highlight some other transportation successes. At the end of 2024, with a grant from CDOT, the Grand Junction Airport was able to bring back flights from Grand Junction to Salt Lake City, something that had gone away during the COVID epidemic. And then CDOT's bus staying and snow staying program has been successful and continues to grow throughout the district, with more routes and times being added. This delivers commuters comfortably and this delivers commuters comfortable, reliable travel at a very reasonable price. A sustainable and resilient economy relies heavily on an efficient and well-connected transportation system where all residents have access to a range of transportation options, and investments in infrastructure allow people and businesses to thrive and prosper. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jason Smith. Thank you again for all of you being on this call tonight.
Thanks, Commissioner. Rather than hitting on more of our accomplishments, which I could take another full hour, I'd like to ask the listeners understanding to help with the safety of our crews. By understanding, I mean, that there are aspects of the roadway that could use some work, and we're not going to get to all of them this season. We also know that some of our projects we're working on will directly affect you and your commute times, like those that live and travel on I-70 corridor over West Bell Pass on a regular basis and State Highway 82 between Glenwood and Twin Lakes. The projects that are currently in construction this season have been identified as immediate needs, and we have relatively small weather window over the summer that we can get for these projects completed, or as much progress as possible before the next winter. So please have the understanding that we know these are inconveniences, but when the projects are done, this area will be better infrastructure and the roadway will be smoother, and the projects overall will be a safer place for all of us. As far as safety goes, we lost 2 of our team members, friends last year, and they really felt like family. So when I ask, when you see our crews working on the roadway or beside the road, please heed the signs, slow down, and pay attention to driving through the work zones. These folks just want to do their best at work and head home at the end of the day to their family. So with that, I'll turn it over to Julie to highlight some of the additional accomplishments for the counties in her region.
I agree it's difficult to limit our conversation tonight to only a few accomplishments with so many worthy projects happening on the western slope. But one project I wanted to highlight also on the 550 corridor was a big game wildlife underpass that we completed between Montrose and Ridgeway at the Billy Creek wildlife area. This project included 10 miles of highway deer fencing and earthen escape ramps for deer and elk in the highway corridor and deer guards that would keep the big game from getting into the roadway and at their driveway and access points. Wildlife vehicle collisions are a huge concern in our rural regions, and these mitigation features will help improve highway safety for both wildlife and motorists. We expect to see an 80% decrease in vehicle crashes. And we've also been doing a whole bunch of paving along the US 550 corridor from Ouray to the Montrose County line. These projects include some shoulder widening, new asphalt service, bridge maintenance on 3 structures, and installations of new guardrail. and pavement markings and signage. That's really the projects I wanted to highlight within Region 5. Thank you for the time tonight.
All right. Thank you all. We're sorry if we didn't get to your question tonight, but you can still leave us a message, question, or comment. Just stay on the line, and you'll be directed to a voicemail system. On behalf of Commissioner Bowman, Director Smith, Director Constant, our panelists, and the hardworking public servants at CDOT, thank you for taking part in this event, and have a great evening.